Okay, Evelina, so this is the notes that you took when you were looking at watching the interview by Lisa White. And you've got some, all the basics here, up here. You did a really good job in terms of saying the points that she explained about what was going on. She's feeling overwhelmed. She just really needs your help. Husband doesn't understand, etc. Now, one of the things that I noticed is like down here, client reports husband doesn't understand completing a PhD. One of the things to keep in mind is that kind of sounds like you wrote that afterwards, anticipating what you were going to write in the note.
Hmm.
Usually we don't have that much time to write in full sentences when we're actually viewing
Right.
video. So, you know, husband doesn't understand PhD would be a way, a shorthand of saying that quickly in your note, but you'd be able to interpret it later.
Okay.
The other thing is when you say things like client reports or client waited 10 years, since this is an individual interview, everything in here the client says.
Hmm.
So you really don't need to specify. If this was a family interview, then you'd have to say who was saying what. But in this case, what you want to do is only report if somebody else said something or information was coming from somebody else. But you can say the same thing up here. My kids need too much from me,
Right.
because you know that the client says that.
Hmm.
Um, when you get to the family genogram, you did put down, husband Matt, daughter and son, and those kinds of things. Um, Although when you're doing it electronically, doing a genogram is challenging.
Right.
If you were doing it by hand, it actually tends to be easier using the squares and circles and everything, and then
Hmm.
putting the ages in there.
Hmm.
And so that tends to be a very easy shorthand. And when you look at it, you don't have to read too much. You can see right away the family constellation.
Hmm.
Um, okay, there's not reported and things like that. There's a lot of things that we didn't have time in
Yeah,
this
it wasn't
brief
very.
video to put.
Mhm.
You can put not reported. You could also put an X or a line through things.
I actually wasn't sure.
Yeah. Well, this is your personal notes that are
Hmm.
going to help you when you actually write the note. One of the things that I did notice is here you mentioned strengths and resources were not reported. And that's true, sort of. She didn't talk about what her strengths and resources, but you may have put down what you observed. Did you observe any strengths as you were watching what she was saying, how
Hmm.
she was doing things?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it or thinking back, she's very resilient. Like she's
Hmm.
able to conquer all the, challenges she has on a daily basis, and she's able to get to this point. So she must, have a lot of coping abilities and abilities to get to where she's at, you know.
Okay, so when you're taking notes during the session, you might put things down like able to talk to husband,
Hmm.
able to talk to advisor,
Right.
um, talks about her problem solving. These are little notes that you can put down here that are going to influence your assessment.
Hmm.
And yet they're really notes that are based upon what you're observing rather than on what she's saying. And that can be a really good tip of what to put in here.
Hmm.
There's one more thing I wanted to mention to you, and that is the goal. Client would like to know whether she should continue completing. Um, that sounds good, but if you just decide, if you change it to client will decide,
Hmm.
can you see how you've really changed it into a more active goal statement?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a better way. So it's just using one word difference
Hmm.
instead of would like to know,
So that's more
changing it
passive.
to just decide.
Right.
That can be a really good thing. Um, okay, the rest of these things I'm going. You're referring to family services, which is a good thing. But I think that what I want you to think about for when you're writing the note is why are you referring to family
Hmm.
services? What is actually your assessment? Because that's not in here.
Right.
What is your assessment that's going to lead to this? And I'll let you think about that for when you write the note, which is the next writing lab. Okay?
We'll do.
All right, very good.